I think in terms of culture, the corporate world has a number of issues going on at the moment. One of the critical issues is they're structured in a way that makes it hard for them to change. In other words, the scale that they've built, what used to be a strength, is actually a disability now. You know, all of a sudden you're seeing, you know, nimble startups who are able to change the way something gets done faster than a corporate can. So what you're finding in the corporate world is they're having to create a culture that's a little bit more entrepreneurial. Everything that human beings have done that was great or horrific is only able to be achieved because it's congruent with who we think we are. It's congruent with our values. And some organisations do that really well. It's clear what their values are and what the manifestations of that might be. Some leaders are better at generating culture and creating this idea of identity. You know, so in many ways, leadership and sales have exactly the same role. It's about who do I help my people to be? Not what do I tell them to do, who do I help them to be? And that's equally true for a salesperson. Who does my product or service help my customer to be?
Is there something wrong with corporate culture? Well, I suppose where I've come to in my thinking about this is that one of the biggest barriers we have to changing the way the world is with regard to flexible work is around our mindsets and our approach to work. So we have this concept of an ideal worker. An ideal worker is somebody who is available, works, you know, full-time, is committed and so on, and gives their heart to the workplace and so on. We also have this idea about the ideal work, you know, how you go about your work. Now, it's those things that I find that organisations have not been creative about challenging. Some of the greatest successes that I've had in workplaces, it's been having a go at doing something different with a project, with a team, like a building project, where you're going to change the way work is done.
The problem of this idea of presenteeism in organisations is it kind of comes from two places. Firstly, leaders have this increased sense of security if they can see their staff at their desks engaged in work. And it kind of almost doesn't matter so much what you're doing so long as your leader can see that you're here. Whereas if you're working remotely or working from home, that idea of shirking from home, for example, if I can't see what they're doing, then I'm not confident that they're actually doing work. It's a really entrenched idea that being in the office is productive and that working in other ways is somehow less productive.
The way I see it, it's much more the cult of success. We've gotten into this habit of celebrating our A-teams, of really what goes alongside these big, hairy, audacious goals and setting clear targets and all your KPIs, as you have this real clear focus on outcomes, on what's successful and what's not. What I think is better than focusing on success is focusing on progress. This is where we actually value effort and input. It's where we value exploration and learning. And for that to work really well, we need diversity of input. So often, people in decision makers, and I'm sure many of your interviewers have said this, it's the old pale male style decision makers going on.
If I was to define an ideal workplace culture today, it'd be collegiate. It'd have cross-functional teams. It'd draw upon talent from all around the world. And it would focus on looking for the best people, and that would be a naturally diverse team in terms of age, experience, gender, nationality. People who worked at these kind of companies have a spring in their step. I think it's partly due to the fact that they have ownership of their work, in many cases literally. There's a sense of wonder and opportunity, I guess, because they are defining and creating their own future, and they're in an environment where they're given the freedom to do that.